Hey guys, welcome to Mr. Smith's Kitchen. I'm Brian. Mr. Smith, it's my kitchen. If you're new to my channel, thanks for stopping by. I hope you get something out of my channel. If you're returning, thank you. But either way, thank you. Tonight's Wednesday. I thought we'd cook some dinner. And, I kept toying with the idea of what to do with leftovers. The mac and cheese we kind of solved. Because we had macaroni and cheese for Christmas dinner. And I decided I'm just going to make that up with some andouille sausage and some onion and call that a meal or a really good side dish. Either way, maybe throw a couple extra spices in there. And like Chris makes one of the most amazing macaroni and cheeses. But it was the turkey. Turkey was stumping me. We had quite a bit of turkey left over. I mean, there was only six of us here for Turkey Day or for Christmas, and for whatever reason you couldn't find a small turkey in this town to save our lives. So I bought a 20-pound turkey, and we had plenty of turkey leftovers, but what to do with them? So yesterday Sarah made a turkey noodle soup, which was out of this world, hands down. That used up about half the turkey, and I thought, I'm gonna make a turkey pot pie. Why not? Sounds good. Haven't had one in forever. Although you can buy them frozen in the little, ones like the beef and the chicken, but why not make one of our own? This one, I have a chicken pot pie recipe I did some time ago. It's in my recipes playlist if you hop on my channel. That's got a really good flaky crust, but oddly enough, I don't think I wrote down the recipe because I can't find it anywhere. It may have been lost in the move, or Abby may have nabbed it off a card. Either way it goes. So I looked up another one of this crust recipes for Paula Dean, who used to have a cooking show. Well, she still has a cooking show. She's got a YouTube channel. She's on Facebook, Instagram. Basically, if it's a social outlet, she's on it. As she was making it, it hit me that it was very close to the one I had for the chicken pot pie recipe. So this is what I'm going to use again today. And it's really easy. It's very similar to making a butter crust. She made hers by hand. As far as just kneading the dough together or breaking up the butter and all that stuff, I'm not wanting to work that hard. It's a weeknight. If you are reoccurring on my channel, normally on Tuesdays, or if you're new, normally on Tuesdays, we just kind of sit and talk, or I sit and rant. But instead of getting a video out, I've been working on a video from the garage. I'm building some shelves to go out there. We're tearing down part of a workbench, possibly both sides of the workbench, putting up some shelving, redoing some workbench, doing a lot of reconstruction out there. So that way I have a good solid foundation to start working on the kitchen and the basement for, which I'm hoping to start getting to it in the next few weeks, at least building the cabinets for it. And I want to bring you guys along for the journey, but building shelving the way I want to do it, it's very specific to my needs in this garage. It's taking a little time, so when the video does come out, sorry, might be a little long, but lots of cool things to learn. One thing about it, don't forget to subscribe. Thumbs up, thumbs down, notification bell if you want to know when my videos come out. It's a little bell right there next to the box that says subscribe. And then that way you know when my videos come out. I try to do 3 a week. Doesn't always work, obviously. But it's always nice that you guys let me into your life to begin with. And that's awesome. So, comments. Love comments. Take them all day long. I respond to almost I do respond to every comment that I get. I'll ask as you keep them nice. It's okay to disagree. Be respectful. Think before you type. So anyhow, turkey pot pie. First thing we need is a crust. So let's go ahead and make a crust. I make mine in a food processor. It's the only way I've ever known how to make a pie crust, so that's what I do. You can't, like I said, you can make this by hand. You just have to, the butter, which is very cold, and the shortening also in this case, is very cold, and you have to break that up into little parts and mix it in really good with the flour. I find it easier in a processor. You may not have a processor. By hand is fine. So let me get you down here and we'll go through the steps of making the crust and what to do. And there we are. We are on my new tripod with backlighting and phone holder and mic holder. It's awesome. Chris got it for me for Christmas. And get it, Chris? Christmas. It's awesome. Alright, so first thing we need is a food processor. Now, if you watched last week before, I told you we got a new food processor. It's battery operated, got a really cool handle, made by Pamper Chef. I've used it once to make dough with, and it did a fair job. I was kind of impressed. So we're going to see if it works out again this time. First thing we're going to need to make this dough is 2.5 cups of flour. That 2.5 cups of flour is also around 310 grams. So we're just going to go ahead and dump that in the food processor. Yeah, now I will say this processor sounded like it was going to struggle a little bit with the butter part, but it made it through, and that's the important thing. Next thing we're going to want to add to this is 3 tablespoons of sugar, which is 45 grams. Throw that in there, and then we're just going to need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, which is 1 gram, 1/4 teaspoon. Use a finer salt. I mean, you can use a coarser salt, but I find the finer salts kind of work best. And then we're just going to slap the lid on this puppy. Right quick, maybe. There we are. And then we're just going to give it a pulse. Yeah, a couple pulses to get this stuff mixed up. And let's speed her up. There we go. Alright. As I said, we're going to put it through its paces. We're going to see if it's worth the money. Actually, we got a really good deal on it. And like I said, I know it makes a good dough. This is what I use to make our Christmas meal pies with. So I know it works. Alright, so the next thing we need, I got to get out of the fridge. And this is very important. When baking, almost everything you do requires room temperature everything. This is the one exception to that rule. You want 12 tablespoons or a stick and a half of butter. Cube it up. It'll make life a lot easier if you're using your hands or a food processor. Dice it into little cubes, but you want it as cold as you can get it. If need be, stick it in the freezer for about 10-15 minutes. And then we're going to put that in there. Alright, so 12 tablespoons or a stick and a half of butter, which is right around 168 grams. And then we're going to need a 1/4 cup of shortening, which I forgot to find out what the grams are on that. We're just going to break that up and put it in there. Like I said, you want this as cold as possible, because what we're going to do is we're going to mix this together until it looks like a fine cornmeal. Okay? We got that all ground up. Get the shortening off my hands. Now, I'm using Crisco. You can use any kind of shortening you like. You can use lard, for that matter. So I want you to buy the smallest thing possible unless you plan on using a lot. Crisco, once you open it, is good for a year. Lard, on the other hand, can sit on a shelf for a very long time before it even gets sold to you. And it can go rancid pretty quick, and you'll know if it goes rancid. It'll smell to high heaven. Alright, so we'll put the thing back on there, press the switch to get her fired back up again, and maybe it'll start. There we go. And we're pretty close. No matter what kind of food processor you use, please be careful when you're sticking your fingers in the bowl. Those blades are sharp. Hands down. And we're almost there. Alright, we'll give it a couple more seconds. There we go. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, wipe off our hands, get the flour off of them. Got that cornmeal consistency. Is we're going to add water. Now we're going to add ice cold water. All right. I mean, I had an ice cube in this. There's still remnants of an ice cube in there, and we're going to start with a 1/4 cup. Okay, and if we need more, we'll add more to it as we go. But we're only going to add like a teaspoon at a time after this initial 1/4 cup. We don't want to oversaturate the flour. All right, we don't want to get it sopping wet. We just want it to be well coated. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add 2 teaspoons, 2 more teaspoons. Sometimes it only takes 2 teaspoons, sometimes it takes 3. It really just depends. But like I said, the important thing is we don't get it soaking wet. There we go. So now we're going to take the lid off, and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. But you should be able to put it in your fingers and form it. Okay. So I mean, I should be able to put it in the dough. I mean, it shouldn't be it shouldn't feel wet, if that makes any sense. Dough's kind of something you have to practice. I know I've been continuously practicing it now for over a year. And I'm finally getting better at it, and I understand what it feels like. It's hard to tell you exactly what to do because depending on the flour you buy, the humidity in your household, you know, I mean, there's 1,001 different things that, you know, can make it to where you have to add more, have to have less. You know, it really just varies. So we're going to go ahead and take the blades out of there. We don't need those anymore. That dough is right where we need it to be. It's perfect. So the next thing we need to do, besides clean up our mess, is now I will say this about this little engine that could here. My big processor makes a mess. Every time I make dough with it, it has a bad tendency to shoot flour all over the kitchen. This little engine that could doesn't, which is nice. So, we're going to take this, we're going to dump it out, and it doesn't have a giant base. That in and of itself is awesome. It's just this. No more, no less. It's kind of cool. Alright. We're going to put this together. We don't need to knead it or anything like that. We're just picking up all the lumps and clumps. But, I mean, if you can see, I mean, I still have a little bit of going on there on the counter. You know, it's not completely soaking wet, you know, which is what we want. You know, what will happen is we have to let this sit in the fridge for about a half hour. All right, which as soon as we get this in the fridge and I clean up my mess, we'll get started on making the filling for it, and it'll all just kind of come together at once. It'll be nice. All right, so we got that. Next thing I need is a scale, because I'm not really all that sure about eyeballing dough, because we're going to split this. This is the top and the bottom crust. So what we got to do is turn the scale on, weigh it. It says it weighs 606 grams, so we need 303 grams a piece. We'll cut her in half, so to speak. 250. Not too much. Can't get much better than that. There we are. All right. 303 grams, which means the other side weighs 303 grams. Now we're just going to put this into some cellophane. There's some cellophane? Yeah. Plastic wrap. Get that out here real quick. Making pie dough, in my opinion, is like one of the most satisfying things ever. You know, especially once you get it figured out, so to speak. You know, and you'll come close the first time you do it. I mean, you may even hit it spot on. I did not hit it spot on. I was close. You know, but like I said, the more you do it and you get to know the feel of the dough, and you'll know because it'll roll out great. It'll, you know, and I still screw it up. All right, so we're going to take our crust and we're just going to make a disc out of it. I mean, you could, if it's still cold enough, you could roll it out now and use it. I think it makes a better crust if you let it relax first. You know, the butter's kind of melted, the shortening's kind of melted. So we just got that, throw that over there. You can also use wax paper to put this in the fridge with, but you want to give it a good half hour or so. That there. Do this one. And like I said, it just needs to go in there for about, I mean, you can go 20, 30 minutes. You know, you figure if you make your crust first, and then we get all the stuff together to go in this, by the time it comes back out, it should be ready to roll. Because the filling that we're going to make for this, you have to let it sit for a couple of minutes and let it settle down. Because we're going to go from blazing hot to going into a pie pan. And that can, it can tear up your pie crust, something fierce. So, get this in the fridge, like such. Get those wrapped in the fridge, and I'm going to get everything together, get the top off this thing so we can start cooking, and I'll be right. All right, I got the kitchen set back up so we can make the roux, make the filling for our pie. Yeah, and I was thinking about it while I was cleaning up, getting stuff together. I mean, if you don't want to make your own pie crust, you can buy a pre-made pie crust. I'm not going to tell if you don't. So, the next thing we need to do is skillet. You're going to need 2 pans. You're going to need a skillet, and then if you got a small skillet or a pot, great, you're going to need them both. So, in this skillet here, I've got it warming up already, and as a matter of fact, I need to turn this one on so it's warming up a little bit. First thing we're going to do is we're going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. All right, that's, you know, just 2 tablespoons. If you look at your stick of butter when you pull it out of the fridge, it's got tablespoon markings on it. It's 2 of them. We want to get that in there and melted. And we're going to do this on a medium high heat. I mean, you don't want to destroy it. You know, burn your butter off, so to speak. We'll get this mixed up and melted. So, I was watching a movie with Chris earlier, and it almost caused me to not make dinner tonight. It was called Miss Victoria or Miss Virginia, and it was about a lady who basically created the lottery, so you had choice of schools to go to, and how she fought for it. And I'm here to tell you, not only did it just reiterate how screwed up our country can be at times, but how amazing this woman is. And if you try hard for anything, you can accomplish it. All right, so to our butter, we're going to add our onions, which is just 1 medium onion, fine diced, or 2 small onions. We're going to add 2 stalks of celery, diced. And we're going to add some carrots. I've also got, and it's 2 carrots, or if it's just 1 big carrot. Here's the beauty of things like this. Add as little or as much as you want. But that's what the ingredients list called for, was 2 carrots. I use 2 medium-sized carrots, not jumbo giant carrots. 2 stalks of celery and 1 medium onion to put in there. And then there's also potato, but we're not going to put it in quite yet. We want to get these, we're just going to saute these until they're softened. We're going to cook them until they're softened a little. The onions will start to get translucent. The celery will start to get a little translucent. It's going to take about you're going to run about 5-6 minutes on this. Is what it's going to come down to. But you want to stir constantly. If you don't, you'll start burning stuff. So, yeah. All right. Well, we'll let these cook, and then we'll move on to the next step after that. Okay, we're starting to get translucent. So now we're going to add in 3 tablespoons of dried parsley. It's a lot of dried parsley, but it's worth it. Trust me. This is very similar to a chicken pot pie, kind of. And we're going to add in 1 teaspoon of oregano. Get that in there. That way they can start playing well with each other. Now, when it comes to dry spices, soups are kind of a different bird, but when you're putting them in a dish, if you can, try to put them in before you get them wet. Because what happens is, most dried spices activate with an oil of some sort, butter, vegetable oil, whatever. And if you don't want to use butter in this, you can use vegetable oil, just a couple tablespoons of vegetable oil. But what that does is it activates the flavors. It gets the spices jumping. There's only a handful of spices that, get their mojo flowing with water. But like I said, soups are a little different. I mean, although you can put your spices in a soup dry and then add your liquids to it, So whenever possible, try to get your spices in there first so you can get them hot and activated. Okay, so we've got all those in there. And like I said, it doesn't take long, about 30 seconds or so. And then we're going to add 2 cups of water. All right, 2 cups of water. Pour that in there. We're going to add, now, in the instructions it says add 2 chicken bouillon cubes. I don't use chicken bouillon cubes. I use better than bouillon, but it's 2 teaspoons for a teaspoon is the equivalent to 1 cube. So I'm just going to put 2 teaspoons in here. If you want to use chicken broth or turkey broth, if you have a turkey broth, it would be just 2 cups of turkey broth instead of water. I had originally planned on using turkey broth for this because I had a couple quarts left, but we used them last night when Sarah made her absolutely delicious turkey noodle soup. I'm telling you, it was good. It was like just nothing else. And then we're going to throw a little salt and pepper in here to taste. So like most times, I'm just going to start with 1/8 of a teaspoon. I'm going to turn this down to a dull roar, about, a nice medium low. Get the salt in there. Get some pepper in there. And like I said, I would start with 1/8 of a teaspoon. Because before we put this in the pie, we're going to give it a taste again for salt and pepper anyhow. Alright, so while that's going on and doing its thing, the next thing we're going to do, and this involves this other pot over here, is it should be at least somewhat warm now. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. I'm going to wipe my finger off. It's got chicken bouillon all over it. And we are going to add 2 more tablespoons of butter. Alright, because we want to get that melted. Because once it's melted, we're going to make a roux. And I remember for the longest time, I was scared to death to make a roux. It intimidated me. You know, like you wouldn't believe. Alright, get that cranked up. And this we're just going to let simmer until we're ready to use it. You know, now we're just letting everybody get to know each other. You know, if you're using bouillon cubes, letting those, you know, melt away into eternal bliss into your sauce and, you know, making it work. Alright. Alright, well, once this butter's melted, I'll come back and we will move on. Okay, I brought you in a little closer, thinking that maybe you could actually see what I'm doing. I realized, probably a little too late to the game, that you were awfully far away. Alright, so now you can see our pot with all our vegetables in it. Here is our pan with all our vegetables in it. Here's our pot. I've got our butter. It's melted. It's boiling a little, bubbling a little. We're going to add 3 tablespoons of flour. And we're going to stir that in. Alright, this is how you make a roux. Now, you're looking for a couple different things. And I mean, it's kind of the choice is yours type of gig. But you're wanting the flour to no longer be white. And your roux, alright, which is just usually butter and flour mixed together. Sometimes it's oil and flour, but it always involves flour. The longer you let it sit in the pan and go, it'll start to get darker. You know, you don't want it to burn, but the darker your roux is, the darker your sauce is going to be. Now, I am not going to let mine cook that long. We're going to make it look kind of like mashed potatoes right there. And all that is butter and flour, but you see there's no white left in it. You know, so that means we're in good shape. Yeah, like I said though, I mean, if we wanted our turkey broth to be a little darker, just let it cook a little longer. Gumbo's like that. So the next thing we need to put in there is, I knew I'd forget it. I always forget something. Is a half a cup of milk. I'm going to go ahead and get the dough out. That's where I need it next. You can also use whipping cream, half and half, whatever you have available. The recipe calls for milk, though. So like I was saying, you can use heavy whipping cream, and in this case we're going to, because the milk I just had in my hand right before we took that momentary pause was frozen solid. It sat too far back in the fridge, and our fridge, if it sits too far in the back, likes to freeze. So we're going to try this gig with heavy whipping cream. Ugh. I don't know why you couldn't use it, personally. I had to take the roux off there for a second, so that way we didn't burn it. Yeah, we got our heavy whipping cream in there. And roux, butter, yep, nope. Let thicken. Okay, so we're gonna mix this together. Get that roux to break down inside that heavy whipping cream in this case. Yeah, but it would be a half a cup of milk. So you want the flour and butter to dissolve into that milk. While we're letting that cook up, we're going to go ahead and give this a stir real quick, and then we're going to add our potatoes to this. Now, the recipe called for just 2 cooking potatoes, which would be like russets, not big ones though. You want just, nice medium-sized ones. We don't really use russets or brown potatoes very often. We use red, and I don't ever take the skin off of them. The skin is really thin, and it's good for you. That's the most nutritional part. So get that in there, and we're just gonna let these cook, because we're gonna, after this thickens, after the roux thickens up a little bit, we're going to pour it in here, and then we're just gonna let the whole thing cook until it thickens up. So where are we at with the roux here? All right, we are about where we need to be. It's probably a little thicker than it needs to be. Using the cream, like I said, using the cream won't hurt. You just need a dairy product, so to speak. Yeah, so that I'm not worried about. All right. So we are good there. We'll pour that in. Frozen milk. That's all right. You guys get to see. You guys get to know. I mean, it's okay. Things like this will happen. You know, I mean, I hope your refrigerator never freezes stuff on the top shelf like ours does. But that's the first time it's ever done milk, though. That's quite impressive, really. All right, so we got that in there. We're going to stir this in. See how it's making that nice little bit of gravy? All right, got that going. Oh, that is looking fabulous. If I do say so myself, and I do say so myself. Get this mixed in, mixed in, mixed in, mixed in. All right, got that mixed in. Now the last thing we need to add before we just let this sit and cook for about 10 minutes or so. Get that little bit of roux there off the back. It's the turkey, the star of the show, the whole reason why we're doing this shebang. So we'll take our turkey, break it up and put it in there. Now, I mean, if you want to buy a chunk of store-bought turkey, great to make this. You most certainly can. But the whole thought behind this was what to do with leftovers. You know, and why not? Now, this will feed 8 people. You know, it'll make 8 slices or at any rate. Or 10, depending on how you cut it, I suppose. But you're going to want about 1.5 cups of turkey, give or take. You know, probably more give than take. You know, you can never have too much turkey in a pot pie. Get that in there. Now, I mean, if you buy the store-bought, like a whole piece of store-bought already cooked turkey, that's cheating, I feel. But, I mean, then it would look like the frozen pot pies you buy in the store when you cut it open. You'd have those little square chunks of processed turkey. But this way, you get fresh turkey. So we went from having a 20-pound turkey to about a 7-pound turkey, 6-pound turkey of leftovers. Sarah probably used 4 cups of turkey in her turkey noodle soup last night. I'm using 1.5 cups, and that leaves a couple cups left. So what can I do with that? Well, I could freeze it and keep it around until I need it again. But we could make turkey sandwiches with this. We could make shredded turkey sandwiches, which would be just as awesome. You know, we can make a casserole. If it wasn't already shredded, so to speak, we could have sliced it up and put it with us and wrapped stuffing inside of it, which is another great dish we haven't made in probably years. And it's literally just turkey rolls with stuffing inside of them, and turkey gravy over top of them. Oh, sounds like my car was. Oh, Abby's got my keys to the car. All right, we're going to let that simmer down a little bit, and then when I come back, we'll assemble our pie. All right, I'll see you here in a sec. One thing I did forget to mention, when we started to let this simmer and we put it all together, start your oven to 425 degrees, because that's where we're going to start. All right, I'll be back in just one moment. Okay, we're back, and our sauce has thickened up. Our filling has thickened up. We're just going to go ahead and shut that off, set it off to the side. That way we don't have to fuss with it down the road. The next thing we're going to do, sorry about the funky camera angles, but with this new tripod, I'm seeing what I can and cannot do. So the next thing we got to do is roll out our dough. And in order to roll out our dough, we need some flour. We'll start with some flour. Grab a oversized spoon here, and we'll sprinkle some flour on the countertop. Now you want to make sure your counter is clean, of course. You don't want to go dumping a bunch of flour on the counter of a dirty counter. That would be kind of gross here. Pie crust would taste like whatever was on your counter. which would be a hot mess. Then we're just going to take our dough, whoa, hopefully not drop it on the floor. Set her down here on the table, and like I said, we stuck it in the fridge. It serves two purposes. A, it gives that butter a chance to, settle down a little bit, but it also allows to chill back down, chill a little bit. But it allows all the glutens we just made go crazy in the flour. Gives it a chance to settle down. Go ahead and get some flour on our fingers. Put it on our rolling pin. Now, when you roll, let's see if I'll come over this way. You want to start in the middle and work your way out. Go forwards and back. And then you're going to turn. If it sticks to your rolling pin, it's okay. Just grab some more flour, put it on there. That's going to happen. Like I said, I'm not the greatest at dough. I'm still learning, just like you guys. But I do know that when you roll, you don't want to go all the way to the edge. Alright, we're definitely going to need some more flour to put on that rolling pin. Now if you don't want to put it on the rolling pin, that's fine. You can put it on top of your bread or your dough too. And after every roll, every time you roll, you want to turn your dough. It serves two purposes. It ensures that your dough is not sticking to the counter, but that way you can keep forming a circle. As you can see, I'm not the greatest at this by any means. Go a little on the top of the dough there. Now there are some doughs like with most of your doughs, you don't want to like completely saturate it with flour. If you do that, you'll dry out your dough. So, but a little bit of flour on the top and bottom is not going to hurt anything. And it's something that takes practice. I've made quite a few pies now, and I still have to practice all the time. It's something that takes time, and it just doesn't always come out right. You're going to have cracks and things like that. And it could be because your dough's too cold. It could be because it's too dry. These are all things you'll learn as you go. I can tell you, like right now, my dough's cracked on the edges, and it's not because it's cold or dry. It's because I'm getting it too thin on the outer edges, which is, at least in my case, is something I have battled since I started making pies. It doesn't matter how hard I try to go heavier in the middle with the roller and lighter on the ends. And if your dough cracks, breaks, tears, okay. Don't you worry about it then. Nobody's going to know but you, unless you tell people. There we go. Alright, and we're just looking to get this about 12 inches across. Now, if you want to know pretty much how big to make it, alright, and you're going to go about 1/8 of an inch thin, 1/8 to 1/4 inch thin, but you take your pie pan, and you just lay it down on top. And you should have about 1 inch or so, which we do, so we're in good shape there. Take that, I'm just going to take it, I'm going to fold it over, see, I got a tear in it, and you know what, it's okay. It's okay, I'll show you why. I'll put our pie pan right there, I'm going to lift it up, set it on there, fold this back over, fold the tear over, because we can hide a tear. See? Right there. Now nobody's ever going to know but me and you, so don't tell on me. And we're just going to take it, and we're going to take our finger, so it's like this, and we're going to put it, Sam, go eat your turkey someplace else. You're noisy. Sam found a piece of turkey or something on the floor. And we're just going to push it in the corner. Alright, we're just going to take it and put it in the corner. If I had a second camera so I could show you a different angle, I most certainly would, but I don't. So, we'll go around, put it in the corner. That way we know we're pressed all the way around. You know, it doesn't have to look pretty. You know, not right now. We're going to cover it. So we got that in there good, like so. Now we're going to take this, set it to the side, or if you think you're going to be a minute, put it back in the fridge. Not a big deal. Sorry, I will fuss with my crust till the cows come home, if need be. Alright, now we just got to do the second one. Oh, excuse me. Which will require a little more flour on the table, or on the counter in this case. Like such. That's smeared around like such. Sprinkle a little bit on the top this time. Like I said, you don't want to put too much flour all together on your dough, because if you do, it'll dry it out. Get this rolled out. So the turkey filling came from a recipe from All Recipes. I don't think I mentioned that in the beginning. And I use All Recipes for all kinds of recipes. They're a good website. Yeah, them, Joy of Baking. I mean, I do so like looking up recipes. Yeah, I like looking at a lot of stuff, but I like doing a lot of stuff. Keeps the mind active, keeps you busy. Oh, straighten up this crust. It's starting to look more like a 4-leaf clover than a pie. Now, you know, some people, they may cut this part out of their videos. I don't. I want you to see it's okay to not be perfect the first time or the second time, or in my case, the 30th time. Making pie is an art form. It's no different than making a cake. You have good days, you have bad days, you have crust that works, some that don't. You know, remember, we're not factories, we're not machines, we're people, everyday people. Making stuff that we can share with our friends and family. Yeah, or a neighbor, or somebody you don't know. Food is the best way to make a friend, I'm telling you. Alright, get that rolled out a little bit more. I think my dough may just be a little too warm. And like I said a few minutes ago, 425 on the oven to start. That's the first temperature we're going to run out. And then we're going to turn it down. Sorry, that's really loud, but that's my oven letting me know it's ready. It's ready to go to work. All right, so I think we are good there. Off to the side. Whew, it is powerfully warm in here. Bring our crust back over. We're gonna grab our filling. Yeah, that is still a little warm. That's all right. Grab it. We're gonna pour our filling into the pie crust, the bottom crust, into the pie pan. Oh, that looks amazing. Look at that bad boy. Just look at her. And I dare say, for as rough as I am on pie crust and still learning, Chris tells me all the time that I make a pretty good pie crust. So I must not be doing something all that bad. Yeah, it may not always be the prettiest, but it works. And we'll throw that on top of there. Unroll this back over onto the... we're falling apart. Which is okay, we can fix it. Maybe. This really is not going to be the prettiest pie ever. But it will be once time we're done. The kind of cool thing is we're going to want to make slits in this anyhow. So we're in good shape. But like I said, it's okay if it's not perfect. I'm not perfect. But you know what? I can tell you this much. It's going to taste good. Alright, now that we got our beat up marbled looking pie on here, that actually looks kind of cool. We shall call this the Frankenstein turkey pot pie. Get that. I need to grab... I'm going to go grab a small knife real quick. And we're trying a new pie crust recipe. We're going to cut off the edges. There is that. Alright, and to seal this bad boy around, after I clean up this dough. Now, this dough I'm going to go ahead and get rid of because it's got a little bit of turkey and broth and stuff in it. But if you're neat with your dough, you can actually just put that in the freezer. It'll be good for a couple months. You can put it towards another flaky pie crust. So I'm going to just use a fork and go through and press the sides in, make it look like a classic turkey pot pie. Oh, maybe. Dough's getting too warm. Yep, our dough's getting warm. So we're going to leave it just like it is. Yep, our dough's just too warm. So we won't be crimping the edges to seal it. That's all right. That's all right. So let's talk about the oven. While I'm sitting here thinking about it. Okay, so in the oven, 425 degrees, we're going to let it cook for 15 minutes at that on a baking tray. Okay, that's important. We got to put it on a baking tray because even if I'd have done this perfect and it would have turned out picture perfect, beautiful, we'd still want to put it on a baking tray. We are going to cut some slits in this real quick, just 4 little slits in the center, just like you would see in the store-bought ones. All right, that way it vents. I mean, granted, I got plenty of venting going on here anyhow, but we still want to cut slits in it just in case. Yeah, that way, you know, it can release the steam. So we got our vents cut in it. You want to see what it looks like? I'll show you real quick. If I don't knock it over first. Right there, I got our 4 vents cut in the center. So now we're just going to stick this in our 425 degree oven for 15 minutes. And then after the 15-minute timer goes off, we're going to turn our oven down to 350 degrees and let it cook for an additional 20 minutes. So timer's on right now, 15 minutes. When that timer goes off, turn it down to 350 and and we're going to let it cook for another 20 minutes. All right. Well, when I come back, it will have come out of the oven, and we will have let it sit for 10 minutes, and we'll cut us a piece and see how it turned out. All right. See you in just a few. So we let the pie cook at 425 degrees for 15 minutes. I kicked it down to 350 degrees, let it bake another 20 minutes, pulled her out of the oven. She's been sitting out for about another, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes to cool down. Because believe you me, you don't want to stick this thing in your, try to eat this as soon as it comes out of the oven. You'll destroy yourself. But there we are. See, and you can't even really tell that the dough fell apart. I think it turned out quite nice. Yeah. Now, I mean, it's edible either way. So let's talk about what went wrong. All right, because the more I thought about this, the more I realized that it was mostly my fault. I rushed it, is what it comes down to. And this is what happens when you get in a hurry, so to speak. So rules of pie making. For the most part, especially fruit pies. I ran into this the first time I ever made a cherry pie. Two things happened here. First, I didn't let the dough sit in the fridge quite long enough. It wasn't quite firm enough for me to be rolling out because of the heat in my kitchen. How hot your kitchen is makes a lot of difference on, pie crust. No different than the flour when you're making it. How much water do you add? Well, that depends on humidity, temperature, and blah, blah, blah. Same thing with your crust when you're rolling it out. It is warm in my kitchen. I didn't let it sit in there quite a half hour. It wasn't quite as firm as it could be. Now, the third thing that went wrong, once again, my fault, was I should have followed the cherry pie rule once again. Even though I followed the recipe, the way the recipe went, I now know, make my filling first, set it off to the side. That's what you do with cherry pies. When you make a cherry pie, you make the filling, then you set it off to the side, and then you make your dough and let it chill and let that filling just sit for 45 minutes or however long it takes you to make your dough and let it chill for a half hour or so. That way, what happened was the reason why the dough started to fall apart there near the end, it was already warm, too warm to be handling really. And if you run into that situation where your dough's too warm for you to handle and it's just falling apart like that, ball it back up, put it in the fridge. Let it sit in the fridge for another half hour. It won't hurt the dough. Then you can roll it back out and run with it. Put your bottom crust back in the fridge with it. Our bottom crust was fine, but they were both just didn't sit in there quite long enough that we were successful with the bottom crust, but the top crust was just way too warm. But that gives your filling time to chill. You put your filling in your pie crust, and then you roll that second dough out, and bam, you've got a perfect top. Then we could have taken the fork to it, and we would have had the little marks from where we sealed it. But that's okay. I am not complaining at all. This pie turned out looking really good. So let's go ahead and get a piece cut, so that way we can see if it tastes as good as it looks, because it smells great. Looks fantastic. That's only 2/3 of the way, though. We need to see how it tastes. But I wanted to share that with you as far as what, in my mind and from my experience, what went wrong. And what it comes down to is I just rushed it. Yeah, and that's why you shouldn't rush. If you've got to rush, then maybe we shouldn't be making it. Or we should have a different plan. I mean, if nothing else, you got the full benefit of my mistake. I can tell you this crust is flaky. I can feel it with the knife. All right, so we got that there. Now, in theory, this is theory, mind you, there should not be a whole lot of juice in this, but we all know how pot pies are. Yep, this is just like any other pot pie. It kindly fell apart. That's all right. I'm telling you, this crust, I haven't even tried a bite of it yet. and it is super flaky. I mean, super flaky. Paula Deen did it right in the flaky department. That's for sure. I know there's lots of people who don't care for Paula Deen anymore, and I get it, but her recipes are still amazing. There is our turkey pot pie. You know, all the same, it looks great. Like I said, I wish you were here so you could smell this, because, oh my goodness, the smell is amazing. Now, it's still blazing hot, so like anything else you eat when it's hot, I want to blow on it first. But first I want to get a little bit of everything in there. The pie crust, the potatoes, the carrots, the celery. Yeah, all that good stuff. Ooh. Yeah. I'm definitely digging it. That's got a really cool taste. You know, I've never used that much parsley in anything in my entire life. But that crust is flaky as all get out. I wasn't wrong. And the flavors, that mixture of the roux and you would never know that's chicken broth in there. I thought for sure it'd have a heavy chicken taste because of the broth, but it doesn't. It truly tastes like the turkey. Now, with this particular turkey pot pie, and this will be the only one like it in the entire world, the way Chris made this turkey on Christmas Eve, she did a new recipe, and you actually make the turkey the day before, and you stuff it with some herbs, spices, some apples, and just all kinds of really cool stuff. But hey, it made the turkey, even the white meat of the turkey, now that can be really dry. It turned out super moist and juicy, but it had just a little sweet hint to it. This has the same little sweet hint to it, but I can still taste all that parsley. I can taste the oregano. Man, this is a good pie. Yes, dear.
Is it ready?
Yes, dinner is ready.
Okay.
Yes, I just gotta set the table. All right, I'll eat one more piece of this because it's really good. So, give this a try if you've got some leftover turkey, or if you just feel like having a turkey pie. That is really good. And don't let my mistakes fool you. Now we know. Make sure you let your dough chill that full 30 minutes at least. That way it's easier to roll out and easier to handle. Make sure you let your filling cool all the way down. You remember those two things. Take your time. Do it right. Don't rush like I did. And you'll have a perfect looking crust. You can also do an egg wash on that with just an egg yolk, a couple tablespoons of milk, mix those together, put it on the top. That would have never survived it if I tried to do it. And that'll give it a nice shine. But I can go with or without an egg wash. That's true. But give this a shot. I think you'll like it. It's got so much flavor, it's unreal. I mean, just unreal. That is a really good turkey pot pie. So if you do, let me know. If you liked it, let me know. If you didn't like it, tell me. I would love to hear either way. So tomorrow, we're going to do a chocolate cake roll. You know, like the pumpkin roll. Only we're going to do it with chocolate. And a cream filling in the middle. I think it'll be really good. I am dying for something chocolatey and cakey. And I'm really hoping this satisfies the need. But we'll find out. But that's what we're going to do tomorrow. So until tomorrow, try this. I love you. I love you very much, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Tell somebody else you love them, and you love them very much. Make this pot pie and take them a piece. You know, invite them over for dinner for it. Enjoy it. Try it with your family. Let me know. I guarantee they'll like it, and you'll be making friends left and right with this recipe. Guaranteed. So until tomorrow for a chocolate cake roll, I love you, and I will see you then.